At this time, I would like to call the Flint Board of Education Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Board members, as I call your name, please reply present. Danielle Green.
Present.
Casey Lester. Casey Lester absent. Carol McIntosh. Carol McIntosh absent. Pierre Perry.
Present.
Betty Ramsdale.
Present.
Blake Strozier. And Diana Wright present. So we have 3 board members absent this evening. At this time, the board will hear any, did I hear someone say something?
Oh, I gotta go. It's cute. I gotta go.
At this time, the board will hear any comments from the public. Public members that have joined our meeting remotely are able to submit their questions through the question section or may send an email prior to the meeting. Members of the public are reminded that the Board of Education, by its bylaw 1370, are not obligated to answer questions, make statements, or commitments in response to issues raised by the public. In general, such issues will be referred to the superintendent for investigation, study, or recommendation. At this time, I will ask Stephen if there are any comments from the public. So I know it'll take a few moments. So at this time, I will pause for the public to finalize submitting their questions and allow Stephen to advise before I proceed.
Good evening, everyone. I do have a few, I think I counted 4. So what I'm going to do is I copy them over so you can read along. I'll do about a 30-second pause in between in case the board or administration wants to respond.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I will start with this letter here from a, oh, I'm not. Let's see. There we go. From a Verona Terry. Dear members of the Flint Board of Education, I am writing to implore you to continue your relationship with the new McCree Theater. Serving as a board member for several years, I have witnessed the positive value it brings to our community for both the young as well as the older adults, offering a wide variety of theater productions and events. Young people are able to express themselves creatively, build self-confidence, and inspire others. Additionally, educational workshops and classes are extended to our community as well. Most recently, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, an online talent contest was offered to those with vocal skills in the community to participate in a most safe but professional and fun manner. During this challenging time, this was a positive outlet for those competing as well as those who casted their votes. I urge you to continue your support with the new McCree Theater for its mission to tell the African American story in the African American voice. The theater is ideally located to serve those who unfortunately would not be able to take advantage of its services if offered elsewhere. Thank you for your consideration, and you should have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to contact me. Okay, this one here from Ronald K. Warren. As a resident of the city of Flint, I have a question for the Board of Education. If the Board of Education is willing to send students and staff back to school during a pandemic, why doesn't the Board of Education hold meetings face-to-face in public rather than virtually with all relevant stakeholders? This is from Amy Levy. Some schools have no air conditioners or portable air conditioners that cannot work due to poor electrical structures and buildings. Brownell. How will air be circulated, which is necessary due to heat and to help eliminate the spread of viruses? Several of Flint students were exposed to contaminated water due to the lead crisis in Flint. Has any doctor studied, or do we know what the ramifications for children's health could be if they are exposed to the virus? Okay, this from Pam Pfeiffer. I am concerned about teachers going back to school with a room full of young children. The younger ones do not understand that they can't touch their friends, their teacher, or everything in the classroom. How can our safety be guaranteed? If the board is still holding virtual meetings, then they obviously do not feel safe enough to be with their colleagues in person. How can they possibly expect teachers to feel safe in the classroom with 20 to 40 kids? Teachers definitely want to be with their scholars. However, we do not have confidence that our health and safety is a #1 priority. Okay, and it looks like I do have a new comment in the question section. This from Chanel Green. How will we go about signing up our students for fully online learning? And that is the end of the questions.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Is there a member of administration who would like to comment on any of the comments from the public?
Good evening. Good afternoon. I'm sorry, it's not evening yet. Not at this time, Mrs. Wright. I think when we go through the district reopening plan, it will answer a lot of those questions.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Stewart.
Ms. Wright, you hear me? You froze.
Oh, am I frozen again? So I'm gonna turn my face off so that I won't look weird. I mean, turn my camera off.
It's froze.
Okay, I'm gonna turn it off. Okay. You can hear me though, right?
Yep.
Yes.
And you
Okay.
did.
Well, dang,
Pardon
you all
me?
left me.
I said you did not look weird. In case you were wondering.
Well, I think it's just important that you hear me. At this time, I want to remind the community that they may submit their questions by email to FBOE@flintschools.org to have your questions read at the next meeting. Thank you so much. At this time, and I'm saying this to board members, Mr. Charles Winfrey from the McCree Theater has requested to speak to us this evening, and we have definitely granted that request. So for the next 5 minutes or so, we will hear from Mr. Winfrey. Mr. Winfrey, are you on?
I received a text that he's having difficulty with his Wi-Fi and he's trying to connect, but I'm not sure if he was.
I do see him in the attendees section. I'm gonna try to get him access here.
Okay.
Okay, so should we move forward and then when he is connected, we will bring him in? Is that okay with everyone?
He said
Yeah.
he's trying. Oh.
Okay, so we will move to new business action item, human resources.
I'd like to call to order the Human Resources Committee of the Whole. I would like Mrs. Washington to present information to the board. Action item 1.1, personnel recommendations. Mrs. Washington.
Good evening, everyone.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Good evening.
I seek a motion, excuse me, and a second to move action item 1.1, personnel recommendations with the noted additions to the regular board meeting tonight, July the 15th, 2020 for adoption.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we, goodness.
It's my meeting, Diana.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's why I can't find it on my thing. I'm sorry. I apologize, Ms. Perry. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just, because I saw you were struggling there.
Thank you.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Is there any discussion?
Yes,
Who said yes?
Diana Wright.
Okay, Mrs. Wright, go ahead.
Oh, and because I have not had the opportunity to look at the additions, can we say what they are? Or can we say, yeah, what we are adding? Positions and names.
Yes, Mrs. Wright. So the positions that are being added are the selections for the Director of Operations and the selection for the middle school principal at the new middle school home STEM academy. And so the candidates that were interviewed and selected and recommended for hire by the interview panel is William Chapman for the Director of Operations and Scott Henwood for the middle school principal.
Okay, thank you, Mrs.
Are there any further discussion?
Washington.
Seeing none, all in favor of moving action item 1.1 personnel recommendations to the full board for adoption the vote will be conducted by a roll call. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Treasurer Green,
Yes.
Trustee McIntosh, Secretary Ramsdale,
Yes.
Trustee Strozier, Vice President Wright,
Yes,
myself, Vera Perry. Yes. 2, 4. Motion carries 4-1. 4-0. Is that okay? Seeing no further action, I declare the Human Resources Committee of the whole meeting adjourned. I now turn the floor over to Treasurer Green for the Finance and Operations Committee of the whole portion of the agenda.
Good evening, everybody.
Good
good
evening.
evening.
I would like to call the Finance Committee of the whole meeting to order, and I'd like to turn it over to Carrie Sikowski. Ms. Sikowski?
Good evening. I seek your approval to move action item 11.22, authorization to purchase ground salt with the noted corrected amount to the regular board meeting tonight, July 15th, 2020 for adoption.
So move.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that we move action item 11.22, authorization to purchase ground salt with the noted correction amount to the meeting on, where is it at? Hold on. I don't think it's the date. I guess to the full board meeting tonight? Is that what
Yes.
we're doing? Okay. Is there any discussion?
I got a question.
Ms. Perry?
Since school was canceled in March,
Mhm.
for a lack of a better word, did we have salt left over? And if we did, what happened to it?
I'm going to have to defer that to Miss Rachel, as I'm not sure what happened with our salt for last year.
Good evening. So we did have some left over, and it is currently in the salt barn near our maintenance garage located at Southwestern. So we do have some, but in preparation for the upcoming season, this quote here, this contract that we're going to be signing, we only have quoted for 532 tons. We don't have to use all of that. We're going to try to use what we have first before we have some brought into us, but we wanted to be proactive in a sense that we knew that we had some set aside, some reserved for Flint schools. So our goal is to grate the salt that's been kind of left over, use that up, and then begin the process of having more delivered to us.
Thank you, because I was wondering how does it, I hate to say crazy, but does it disappear or what? So thank you for letting me know it's been stored.
Sure, no, absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Is there any more discussion? No further discussion. The motion is to move 11.22, authorization to purchase ground salt with the corrected note amount to the regular board meeting. I would conduct a roll call. As I say your name, please say yes or no. Vice President Wright,
Yes.
Secretary Ramsdale,
Yes.
Trustee McIntosh, Trustee Perry,
Yes.
Trustee Strozier, and myself. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you, Ms. Kowski.
Thank you.
Being no further action, I declare the Finance Committee of the whole meeting adjourned. I now turn the floor back over to Vice President Wright.
Okay, and at this time, I think I see Mr. Winfrey is here with us. So
Yes,
if everyone is in agreement, we will allow him to make his statements at this time.
yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry for this glitch. My Wi-Fi shut down. I tested this twice before the meeting, but I want to thank the board for allowing me to address you. And I'm just going to go through, and if you have questions, I'm certainly more than willing to answer them. But we began this journey over a year ago when the New Standard Academy, our former home, wanted to repurpose our office space, which would allow us to perform, but we would have had to locate our operations elsewhere. We felt that was not a ideal situation. It would have presented a number of hardships, particularly in terms of our after-school workshops and the kids, the youth that we were serving in the 5 to 14-year-old age group. So we began searching for alternatives, and someone suggested why not look at the Northwestern campus. And I think at that time, the Accelerated Learning Academy was located in the building, which had a very low student count. So I had not yet met Dr. Lopez, so I asked Ms. Green, a board member, to assist in scheduling a telephone meeting between the two of us. That happened, and he and I talked, and I informed Dr. Lopez of our situation and inquired about the availability of Northwestern. He in turn, told me about his experiences in the arts as a dancer and how it helped him on his life's journey. We briefly discussed the nature of our tenancy, our programming, and some of the benefits we could provide to, at that time, the impending Flint Junior High School students. But we also talked, about the terms of the occupancy. He asked how much we were paying the new standard in rent, and I told him we were at the time paying $1,000 per month. He said that's what Flint Community Schools would charge us, and of course I didn't argue with him. He then asked if I could give him a copy of our lease agreement with the New Standard Academy, and I agreed. And I assumed that he would use that as a template for a lease agreement, between Flint Community Schools and McCree Theater. He also asked, for other documents like the Accord insurance certificate, and we complied with both requests. At this point, I just want to assure the board that at no point in time were we trying to circumvent the board or to question the board's authority to act on any agreement between Flint Community Schools and any other outside entity. We always felt that we were acting in a respectful and proper manner by going through the board's chief executive officer and relying on him to convey the matter to his bosses. It would have been absolutely improper for us to go directly to the board and circumvent Dr. Lopez, in that situation. So I feel now that we were sort of caught between a rock and a hard place. because we knew, at some point that we were occupying space, without a bona fide lease agreement. In fact, we inquired about the whereabouts of a lease agreement on several occasions, just to make sure that we were doing things on the up and up. However, no such agreement was ever executed, and that brings us to this point. I'm now asking the board to enter into a lease agreement with McCree Theater. I also acknowledge that things did not go smoothly initially in relocating to the Northwestern campus. There were just certain things that we were ignorant about. In fact, the new Standard Academy did not require us to obtain background checks. So when we moved to Northwestern, we thought it would be similar. But once we found out that they were needed, we did, request the applications to get the background checks on all of our staff and instructional staff. And as soon as the issue of, improperly using one of the students' restrooms came to our attention, we asked the administration to repair the staff restroom so that we could use that. Beforehand, that was in disrepair, and we had no other choice in terms of using restrooms. It was never our intention to run roughshod, over the rules and regulations, that Flint Community Schools had in place. To force McCree Theater to vacate Northwestern at this time, would just have a devastating effect on the livelihood of our program. Every time we relocate, of course, we lose stability, we lose audience support, and it takes several years to rebuild that support. That proof is in the financial data that I think we provided, to the board. But like, most theater companies across the country, we never make a profit on our theater performances. At some point in the past, we were at least recouping about 50% of the cost of our productions through box office and concessions. But that percentage dipped considerably, with the latest relocation to Northwestern. I must add that McCree Theater has never been in the business of operating to make a profit. We offer a variety of free activities and reduced admission for all of our theater productions. And to subsidize those things, we receive millage money and we hustle grants for our arts and cultural services to Flint's underserved population. Within the next year or two, we plan to purchase a permanent home. Currently, with the pandemic, we do not see any activities or events facility for the rest of this year. We only use the office sporadically to retrieve documents and supplies and other things that we may need during our working remotely. But at this point, I would ask the board to consider giving us a one-year lease to allow us to finally locate and concretize a permanent home for the theater so that, we won't be forced to relocate in the near future. And I want to thank you for your time. And if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to ask.
Do any board members have any questions of Mr. Winfrey?
I don't have a question, but I just have a comment. I just want to say when I got the call from Mr. Winfrey to present this to the superintendent, I thought it was a great idea because we as a board had talked about incorporating the arts again in our program, and I thought it was great. Unfortunately, it didn't work out the way I hoped it would. But Mr. Winfrey, I would like you to share with what you share with me as far as students being in plays. I think is that correct? Is that what you shared with me?
Right, particularly with the last production, St. John Street, we had a casting need for about 13 youth. So we went to Miss Jackson, the assistant principal, who also took it to the principal about using, some of the Flint Junior High School students. They had a problem, because of some of the scenes or some of the language actually in the play. So we had to go a different route by going directly to some of the parents of the students. We ended up with only one Flint Junior High School student in the cast, but we were planning before the pandemic shut us down to go to each individual classroom, to offer the students, and the opportunity to take advantage of what we have to offer. Something that we had not been able to do, since moving into the facility.
Thank you, Mr. Winfrey.
Any other board members? And because I can't see some of you, just kind of jump in. I see Ms. Perry, that's it. Anyone else comment or question for Mr. Winfrey? All right, thank you very much, Mr. Winfrey.
And thank you for your time.
All right, you're welcome. You're welcome.
So just to make sure Mr. Winfrey disconnected.
Well, this is the public part of the meeting, so.
Okay, I received a text. Please ask him to disconnect.
Oh, okay. Mr. Winfrey, have you disconnected?
No, but I can mute myself if that's.
I think he would go on a different route he wouldn't be on a panel like us. I don't think. If you just call it as a not as a panelist like now.
If I may, it would be beneficial if he left via the phone call and rejoined as an attendee.
Right, and not a panel. What I was trying to say.
All right.
Yes, please.
Is that possible,
Thank you,
Mr.
sir.
Winfrey?
Yeah, yes, thank you. I can do that.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Mrs. Stewart.
Thank you, Mrs. Wright. Before we go into the action items for the board committee of the whole, I know you guys received the reopening of school plan, which is 55 pages. I wanted an opportunity to highlight some things for the board before you take action. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay. So I have a slideshow. Stephen, can you share my screen? Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And so I just removed some important pieces from the 55 pages that I wanted an opportunity to share with you so that you can then take action. So with the district reopening plan, the governance committee started out by creating a vision statement. And the vision statement would guide the work of the 7 subcommittees. So this is the vision statement that the governance subcommittee came up with. It says a safe reopening of Flint Community Schools designed to protect the health and well-being of our school community while maintaining a commitment to excellence in academics, transparent communications, and a whole child approach to education. Once the governance committee came up with a vision statement, we then developed guiding principles. And these principles that you see here are principles that would guide the work of each of the 7 subcommittees. The first guiding principle, we will put safety first. We will leverage science, data, and public health leadership to inform the choices we make. Second, we will listen. We will bring together diverse stakeholders and experts to understand the realities of the current environment and identify creative solutions. Third, we will be transparent. We will share what we know and what we have yet to discover. We will be clear about what we can control and what is outside of our control. Fourth, we will be equitable. We will center decisions on what is best for all students, families, and educators, especially those most impacted by educational inequities and COVID-19, using a whole child approach. Last, we will be decisive. Given the size and scope of the challenge, we must move deliberately and make tough choices. We will make mistakes, and we will adapt quickly as variables in the environment change. These guiding principles were adapted by the Nashville Plan framework for a safe, efficient, and equitable return to school. The district reopening committee, we had seven subcommittees, and we utilized the return to school roadmap by Opportunity Labs. It's important for me to point out that we started this work back, I want to say the end of May, the beginning of June. And at this point in time, we had no roadmap, we had nothing from the governor. And so we wanted to get ahead of things. And so we started the work early so that no matter when information came from the governor, we will be prepared, knowing that we potentially would start school the first week of August. So we utilized the Return to School Roadmap by Opportunity Lab. And with Opportunity Lab, you can see there are 7 subcommittees. We kind of did something just a little bit different. We did have a governance subcommittee. We had a facilities subcommittee. We added finance because Opportunity Lab did not have a finance subcommittee, so we added finance. And we thought it was best to put the instruction and post-secondary committee together. We had a school operations committee, a technology committee, and a wellness committee. I will say, as we went forth with doing our work, utilizing the roadmap from Opportunity Lab, once the governor released her roadmap, which was back towards the end of June, we did go back in and say, okay, what pieces are we missing that the governor says we absolutely need to have? And we inserted those pieces. So we did later go back in and use the governor's roadmap to kind of lay over the work that we had already completed using Opportunity Lab. Each subcommittee organized its work in the following way. 1, what will we do first? What will we do before school opens? And what will we do when schools are open and operating? And so those were the 3 ways that we organized our work. I also want to note, I'm sorry, please forgive me, that of the subcommittees, we had administrators, teachers, paraprofessionals, other staff from Flint Community Schools, community partners, Board of Education members. Some of you served on some of these committees. We had union reps, and we also had parents that served on each of these subcommittees. So I wanted to go back and point that out because I thought that was extremely important, that we had a lot of stakeholders that were represented in each of these committees. Okay, I'm sorry. So our work was organized around these 3 things. We also collected some data. We did a student survey, parent survey, and staff survey. With our student survey, we had over 100 students who responded. We were trying to get more. We tried to give away gift cards so that we could get more, but we only received 100 students to respond. And the students were split among wanting to return to school or to do face-to-face instruction for next year. 44% of students in grades 2 through 6, they preferred face-to-face. 40% in 7 through 12 preferred face-to-face. 76% of the students in grades 2 through 6 and 48% of the students in grades 7 through 12 said their teacher was very helpful during the time that we were shut down from March to June. The most frequent complaint students had about the remote learning was not being able to see their friends and a lack of interaction with their teachers. Thought that was special.
Mm-hmm.
Parents, we had nearly 700 parents to respond, and families were split among wanting to attend school online in person or through blended learning next year. If we return to school in person, parents desire strong social distancing, cleaning, and disinfecting. The majority of the parents agree that if remote learning is continued, they would like learning packets and the remote learning. And parents were proud of the district's effort to increase communication through the wellness calls and the technology support. They said the district did a great job checking in with them weekly. Staff, we had more than 300 participants. Staff members had mixed feelings about returning to work at their usual location, whether it was the office or the classroom. Their most common apprehensions were related to public health, access to personal protective equipment, and thorough cleaning of spaces. Staff members indicated that cleaning, sanitizing, and social distancing must be instituted in order for them to feel more at ease upon returning to the workplace. So we took the information from the students, the parents, and the staff, and we incorporated it into our plans. We wanted them to know that we were listening to them. So we developed 3 learning environments. Our plan includes 3 possible scenarios. If we go back face-to-face, hybrid, which hybrid could be in a couple different ways. So there's a lot of assumptions out there that we'll go back to school face-to-face, but then come December, we'll have an increase in the number of people who are contracting the virus, and we'll have to shut down and go back to virtual. Then we may be able to go back to face-to-face towards the end of the school year. So that's a hybrid year where you have face-to-face and you have virtual. We also have a situation where we may go to school 2 days a week. We may have kids who go to school on Monday and Tuesday, then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they're online. Then you bring in another group of kids on Thursday, Friday, and the other kids would have been online Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wednesday, school would be shut down totally for disinfecting and cleaning. That could be a hybrid situation that we plan for in our plan. The other one is virtual. There's some people who say that the 2021 school year is going to be all virtual, and we plan for that. We also plan for, if we go back face-to-face and we have parents who are just not comfortable with sending their children back to school, they can continue online with virtual instruction. And for those parents who elect to enroll their children in virtual instruction, they can go to our website and just fill out the consent form. We just need a consent form from those parents stating, I elect to have my child to do virtual learning for the 2021 school year. And that form is online. So I know that there was a question from one of our parents who asked, where can they find that form? If you go to our website, flintschools.org, you can find the form where you say, I give my child permission to participate in virtual learning for the 2021 school year. We just need consent. Some of the things that you will see that I pulled out from the plan, one was around the protocols of movement. Within the plan, we're saying that we're going to use all available entrances so that we can make sure that we're keeping our students spread apart. Visuals for students inside and outside, putting tape on the floor so that we can mark off the 6 feet for children as well as for adults, a visual for children and adults. Teachers will monitor students and only allow a few, 1 to 3, to go to the coat area to hang up their coats and book bags, utilizing every other hook where possible. Facial coverings must always be worn in the hallways and common areas by pre-K through 12th grade students. So you know that some of this is stated from the governor that these are things that we must do. And so children must wear facial coverings when they're in the hallways and when they're in common areas. That's for grades pre-K through 12. Protocols for screening students, staff, and visitors. Require the use of hand sanitizer upon entering the building. All school personnel reporting to work will be screened for symptoms and respond to questions as a precautionary measure to reduce the spread of COVID-19. Strict records, including date and time, should be kept of non-school employees or visitors entering and exiting the building. Protocols for PPE, hand washing and cleaning. Facial coverings must be worn in classrooms by all students, grades 6 through 12. Any student who cannot medically tolerate a facial covering must not wear one. All students in grades K through 5 must wear facial coverings unless students remain with their classes throughout the school day and do not come into close contact with other students in other classrooms. Signage with reminders about frequent hand washing, cough etiquette, nose blowing will be widely posted and disseminated throughout the buildings. Student desks must be wiped down after every class period. Libraries, computer labs, arts, and other hands-on classrooms must undergo cleaning after every class period. Monthly meetings or weekly meetings, when deemed necessary, will be held with key departments such as CSM and Health Services to share communications from local and federal entities as it relates to CDC guidelines. Protocols for dining, gathering, and extracurricular activities. Facial coverings must always be worn in hallways and common areas by pre-K through 12 students in the building, except for during meals. Prohibit indoor assemblies that bring together students from more than one classroom. Breakfast and lunches may be delivered to classrooms and not served from carts. Students may eat in the classrooms to limit movement. That's may. Students may eat in cafeterias with assigned seating, practicing social distancing. Cafeteria tables will be cleaned and sanitized between lunch periods. Students will wash with soap and water or use a hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol before and after eating. Protocols for busing. The bus driver, staff, and all students in grades K through 12 and ECDD, that's our Early Childhood Developmental Delay Program, if medically feasible, must wear facial coverings while on the bus. Clean and disinfect transportation vehicles before and after every route. Athletics. Participants should confirm that they are healthy and without any symptoms prior to any event and provide documentation. All equipment must be disinfected before and after use. Spectators are allowed provided that facial coverings are used by observers and 6 feet of social distancing can be maintained at all times. Handshakes, fist bumps, and other unnecessary contact must not occur. Large-scale indoor spectator events are suspended. Large-scale outdoor spectator or stadium events are limited to 100 people. For fall 2020, the governor just released an executive order 2020-151. It's the state of emergency until 11:59 p.m. August 11th. So she just extended the state of emergency. There are 69,722 confirmed COVID cases statewide as of July 13th. There are 6,075 deaths case-wide as of July 13th. What we are proposing is for virtual learning to start school with virtual learning for the month of August. That's what we're proposing to the board. We want to start school virtually in August. Currently, we are in phase 4. And in phase 4, the governor says that we can do virtual learning or face-to-face. Flint is in a unique situation where we start school August 5th, and all of our other, and all the other districts start school after Labor Day. So we want to take advantage of the unique situation and start school virtually in August, and then transition to face-to-face instruction after Labor Day. If the governor releases anything where we can't, then we will continue with virtual learning. But if she says that we can do face-to-face instruction, we will transition after Labor Day, given the extension of her state of the emergency until August 11th. We plan to do a survey of our parents. This will give us concrete data of how many parents are planning to send their kids back face-to-face and how many parents want to continue with the virtual instruction if we are allowed to go back to face-to-face after Labor Day. Staff, we want our staff to return in August. Our staff will return in August so that we can provide professional development around safety protocols. Our nurse, Miss Eileen Tomasi has been working with Dr. Reyes. And we want to be able to provide PD to our staff around the safety protocols, as well as PD on online management systems. We also want to make sure that our buildings and all of our classrooms are set up with the personal protective equipment and the safety protocols. They've spaced their desk out 6 feet. Everything that needs to happen in the classroom, according to the governor's roadmap, all of those things are in place in the classroom, giving teachers time to do that in the month of August, and then be prepared to receive the students after Labor Day. Our HR director, Ms. Cassandra Washington, will be working with our unions through this piece, as we know that we also need to consider staff. We have some staff who, you know, they just may not be able to come back to school, and they may elect to want to do the virtual instruction. So what does that look like? And so Mrs. Washington is going to be working with our unions as we figure this out. Who's going to return face-to-face and who's going to do the virtual instruction with our students. And so she's going to be working with our unions to figure that out so that come September, we know who's doing what. We have some staff members who said, you know what, Anita, I am going crazy. I'm tired of sitting at home. I'm ready to be in a classroom with my babies in front of me. Those are the people that we want to make sure they're in class for the face-to-face instruction. We have some students who have health concerns. They're a high risk, and they probably should be at home because of the high risk. And so those are the ones that we would want to continue with the virtual instruction with our students. But Cassandra, Mrs. Washington, is going to be working with our unions to work through those pieces so that we can identify who those staff members are. So we would like to express our sincere gratitude to everyone who contributed to this reopening plan. Your meaningful input, purposeful recommendations, and willingness to collaborate demonstrated a unified commitment to supporting Flint Community Schools as we move forward on our path to recovery. Any questions?
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, Ms. Ramsdale.
I just want to say that's excellent, and thank you for doing that. That is just so much work. I especially, I was concerned about the returning in August. So I think your plan to start virtual and then go back when everybody else does to see how all that goes, that really
I see.
needs my full support. So yeah, I appreciate it. And again, kudos to all of you. That is so much work and well done. Just really well done.
Thank you, Mrs. Perry.
Yes, I'm very happy. The work you all put into this was fantastic. I'm very happy to know we're going to start out virtual. We watched the news last night and all day today. They've been talking, the CDC has said that we're going to have some rough times this fall into the winter. They're expecting this virus to really go crazy, worse than what it is. And so you all walked into this blindly at the beginning of the pandemic, but you pulled it together, and this is all I've wanted to see was a plan. So now we have a plan that covers every piece of education that we're going to have to do. So kudos to you all for this.
Yeah, absolutely. Ms. Wright,
Thank you, because we had board members who participated on some of our subcommittees as well. And so we are very appreciative of you and your support and your contribution to this work, because we could not have done it without you as well.
Okay, Mrs. Green, did I hear you say you need to make a comment?
Yep, I got a couple questions in the comment.
Go ahead.
The consent form that you were talking about when families want their children to go virtually, is
Yes,
there
ma'am.
a consent form for face-to-face learning?
No,
I've been-
ma'am, there is no consent form for face-to-face. According to our auditors, we only need consent for our parents who elect to continue, who elect to go to do virtual.
Okay, great. Okay, and also, can this
So we
qualify?
will be doing a survey, Miss Green, of our parents. Because we want to know how many of our parents will be sending their children back face-to-face. If we do
Right.
go face-to-face after Labor Day, we need to know that so that we can be prepared for that. And we also need to know how many of our parents will want to continue with the virtual learning so that we can be prepared for that as well.
Okay, can we get this PowerPoint, the board, can we get this through an email?
You can, and so all I did was, and I will email it to you, but all I did was I just pulled out information from, you have the district reopening plan, which is 55 pages. I
Yeah.
just pulled the information out of that plan. But yes, I'd be more than happy to share this PowerPoint with you.
Thank you. I was trying to find where you were as you were reading, and I was totally lost as I was trying to figure out where we were, so it'd just be a little easier for me. Also,
Yes, ma'am.
is this something that the community will have access to, this PowerPoint? Is it something that they'll be able to go over and look at?
So if the board approves it during the regular board meeting, so this still has to, I'm going to ask Mrs. Wright for approval to move this to the regular board meeting tonight. If the board approves this, the district reopening plan will be public either tonight or tomorrow morning. Lambert is on the call, and so they're just listening for an approval by the board, and then they're going to be ready to go public with our district reopening plan.
And it'll be on like Facebook, YouTube, or where would it be once it goes public?
So Lambert will communicate it via many social media avenues, as well as through our website.
Okay.
And we have Lambert is also working on commercials. If you have not heard, we have commercials that are out for Flint Community Schools. So if you have not heard them, I've had an opportunity to hear it twice. I've only been in my car twice. So there are commercials that are out there. And so Lambert is doing a really good job of communicating things to our families thus far. And so they're going to push this out once the board approves it.
Okay, and the last thing, it's not a question, it's more of a comment. And I appreciate all the work that everybody put into this, because this is a lot and it's overwhelming just hearing it. So I can imagine how it was trying to put things together in the best interest of our children and our staff and our community. For me, I just cannot, the thought of going back into buildings with children and expecting them to do the safety precautions that we need to keep them healthy, I just can't see it. So I will not be supporting that they go back at the end of August. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you. I have one question, Mrs. Stewart.
Yes, ma'am.
A lot in the plan, it does talk a lot about additional cleaning, sanitizing, and in the classrooms, cafeteria between sessions and all of that.
Yes, ma'am.
So will we have to address a different contract with CSM? You know, what's the plan for all of that additional cleaning?
So we are currently working through those pieces with CSM as we speak. Actually, I shouldn't say as we speak, because when we first started the work of the reopening plan, I believe it's the facilities committee that is led by Ms. Sichelsky and Ms. Renaud. They started that dialogue with CSM. Ray Gatika was a committee member, that was a part of the facilities committee. And so that conversation started back then, and we're still kind of working through some things. We were able to get some guidance from Dr. Reyes and Mrs. Tomasi have been working really closely with CSM and what those pieces will look like. We're trying to keep them within the contractual allotment that we currently have. And if we see that we're going to go over, Carrie will be bringing that information back to the board for approval. But as of right now, we're trying to work through the parameters of what was already approved by the board.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
May I be recognized?
Is that Ms. McIntosh?
It is.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. McIntosh.
I'm concerned too, especially with the expansion on the cleaning, because we don't do that well. Even before our last incident, under our last administration, before with the prior administration, I'm just not confident in anybody, because that's a different level of cleaning, because lives are depending on it. And even with the rotating the children in and out, if something isn't did right, then you have the opportunity to spread it, even during the rotation. I'm very apprehensive about that. I'm excited about the virtual learning to start off with, just in case things don't go well, because it's starting to look pretty bad across the country. So that's concerning. And I think it's a lot to ask minors, young children, some very young, to be able to follow these strict instructions every day, for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day. I think that's a lot on children.
Absolutely.
But I do appreciate all the work you've done, and Ms. Nita, I'm so glad to have you even coming up with a plan and knowing our situation and considering all things. I think you're doing a great job. I just wanted to say that. I too appreciate your work, because you inherited it in a never before situation. So kudos, to echo what Ms. Perry said.
And I thank you, Ms. McIntosh, for that, but I cannot take all of the credit for this. There was an amazing team of people who came together to develop this plan, from board members to central office staff, administrators, teachers, parapros. We had our unions represented. We had some of our partners who participated, MSU. There was just an amazing team of people that came together to help develop this 55-page plan. And so I am very, very, very grateful and appreciative of those individuals and the work that came of this.
And I also wanted to ask you this too. With us moving out of Northwestern and kind of downsizing, you feel confident that we'll be able to socially distance, per se, as far as state guidelines are concerned? You really think we'll be able to pull that off?
I think we'll be able to pull that off, and that is what the month of August will be for, right? For us to have time to set up our classrooms, so that we are putting all of those safety measures in place that is put out by the CDC and the governor's guidelines. So I think we'll be able to pull it off. If we find out that in the month of August we are running into roadblocks and hiccups and we can't figure it out, we're going to come back to the board and let the board know. Our plan is to be very transparent and to be very honest. I don't think that the closing of Northwestern is going to be the issue, because we still have all of our other buildings across the district that will still have the same situation, and so I think we're going to work through it, and I think we're going to be fine.
Okay. And last but not least, you threw me off. You were sounding so hopeful till I got caught up in the zone. And it was very important to dag nabbit. Okay, Miss Perry, I'm gonna start writing it down. Okay, I yield. Maybe it'll come back to me.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you, Ms. McIntosh. Any other questions or comments for Mrs. Stewart?
Me, Mrs. Ramsdell.
Okay, Mrs. Ramsdale, and then back to Mrs. Perry.
Okay, I'm going to vote yay on this, and Danielle, I understand, Ms. Green, I understand where you're coming from. But I think the fact that we're starting virtual, we're getting our feet wet and stuff, we really don't know what will be by September. And as Ms. Stewart has said, they will be coming back to us. But I feel like we have to get started with the virtual just to start getting everybody back in the mode. And everything we can do to teach to whoever we need to be able to do. And Ms. Green, really, you need to vote the way you feel you need to. And I know you know, I know you know me well enough to know that I mean that when I say it. But I can see, I listened to the governor's speech today, and I just think September, actually, for all of this, is a ways away, and we don't know what will be. But I think that we as a board, I just think that we need to get virtual is really important to just starting getting them back in the mode for school and trying to catch up from all the time we lost in March and that. So that's where my feelings are and why I would be voting yes. I just wanted to put that out there.
Can I go after
Mrs. Perry?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Mrs. Perry, and then you, Miss Green.
Thank you.
Wait a minute, it's coming.
Okay.
No, I know what I want to say. It's just I can't. I think we're voting just to accept all of the plans that we worked on, plus, so I can support all of this. But I do have a question. When we start out virtual with the students, what will staff be doing? Let's say, for instance, behavioral specialists, our therapists, our nurses, where will they be? Will they also be virtual, or will they be in the buildings? And if so, have we decided how we're going to have them separated?
So Mrs. Washington will be working with the unions and our contracted staff as far as what the month of August will look like for them. But it's my goal that by the end of August, right, if we go back to face-to-face instruction after Labor Day, by the end of August, when we walking through those in our buildings, we can see that all of the PPE measures and the safety protocols are in place. Floors are marked, plexiglass is up, desks are sprayed 6 feet apart. If we walk into a social worker's office, we can see that measures are in place for the social worker's office. And so people will need to do that work within the month of August to make sure that our buildings are prepared. But teachers will, staff will still need to make contact with our students in the month of August because our students will be back in school. So our wellness team will be back operating, calling our families, checking on them, seeing how they're doing, just as they did from March to June. And if they're running into any barriers, helping them to navigate those barriers, referring them to agencies within the community that can help them with those barriers. And a part of the wellness team, I believe, Cassandra jump in at any time, I believe we have the behavior specialists, the parent facilitators, the attendance agents. They were all a part of the wellness team making those phone calls to our parents. Our teachers will be interacting with our students at some point in time during the day, because we're going to work with the union so that we can have a schedule. And so they'll be interacting with the students some point in time during the day, but then they'll also be working to set up their classrooms. They'll also be involved in professional development with professional development around the safety protocols in case our kids do come back to school in September, they have the professional development and they're better prepared to, do whatever it is that they need to do in the classrooms. And so all of our staff will be back working. Now, what that looks like, it may be a schedule. It may be a schedule where, because we want to limit our footprint within the building, but we still know that there's work that needs to be done. So it may be a rotation where, and I'm just giving these examples out. I don't want anybody to run back and say, Anita said this is what is happening, because Cassandra is going to work through these pieces with our union. I want to make sure people hear that. So it may be that the kindergarten teachers are in the building on Monday. There's 4 of them. On Tuesday, it may be the first grade teachers that are in the building. There's 4 of them. It may be a schedule similar to that so that we can limit the footprint of how many people are in the building, but each person still has time to be in the building to do the work.
Thank you so much.
I hope that made sense.
Yes,
Yeah.
it did. Yes, it
Okay.
did.
Okay. Yes, right. Ms. Green.
And I appreciate that, Ms. Ramsdale, what you said, and I respect everybody's vote too. But for me, this vote almost seems twofold to me. We're voting on starting off virtually and going to face-to-face in September. Seems like that would require almost 2 different votes, in my opinion, because I don't disagree with starting off virtually, but since I have to incorporate the going face-to-face in September, that's why I'm voting nay for it, because I have to be able to sleep at night. And for me, with them talking about the uptick in September that we're anticipating and the cleaning challenges that Carol was talking about, and I've heard from different staff in buildings, to add some additional cleaning or another level of cleaning when we're already struggling with the level that we're on is scary to me. So for me, again, respecting everybody else's vote, I'm going to vote no because of what I just explained.
Okay.
Okay.
Just hopefully a final comment on this matter. I think that the plan that Mrs. Stewart and her team has put forth is a very good plan. And I think I'm going to view it as I do all good plans. They always have the ability to be revised because part of a good plan is that you have checks along the way to see what's working and what's not working, and then you make your adjustments, which is kind of what we do with school improvement plans. So the thing that causes me to support this plan is that we have time on our side with starting virtual to make adjustments as needed. So, and that's part of the reason why it includes what happens when we start virtual, and then what happens when we move to the more hybrid plans of virtual combined with face-to-face, and then ultimately total face-to-face. So I think the plan is inclusive and gives us the ability to work within any scenario that may come forth. But I will ask administration to maybe within the first board meeting or second board meeting in August to bring us some feedback as to how things are going, because of course we will all be listening to the news, so we'll have our own perspectives about whether or not we're going to move forward with the next phase of combination plans. So I will ask administration to please bring us some feedback about how things are going mid-August, so that we'll have some idea of what may be coming forth in September.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if there are no further comments, we'll move to the next item, Ms. Stewart.
Well, we need to
Is that
vote.
an action item?
No, I need to present the action items. Okay, wait, hold on. Okay. I seek your approval to move action item 21.5, adoption of reopening of school plan, to the regular board meeting tonight for adoption.
So moved.
Second.
It has been properly moved and second that we move action item 21.5, adoption of the reopening of school plan, to the regular board meeting tonight. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, the motion to move action item 21.5, adoption of the reopening school plan to the regular board for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. Miss Green,
No.
Ms. McIntosh,
Nay, for the same reasons Danielle stated, if we could get a virtual further, but so nay.
Ms. Perry,
Yes.
Mrs. Ramsdale,
Yes.
Mr. Strozier, is he on? Okay, and Mrs. Wright, yes, so that's a 3-2. So I think that passes, correct?
No, it fails.
No.
Okay. Oh yeah, because it has to be a quorum. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I'm going to ask if either one of the people who voted nay would reconsider. I just think this is so important, all the work that went into this. So if we vote nay, they have to go back and redo it, and there's no way you can really redo it other than say we're going to stay virtual the whole semester, as long as we have an opportunity to vote before we get before we go class, face to face. But I think we have to starting point. That's just my opinion. And I really think with all the work they've put into it, I think we have to lend them their support, understanding that we will have the final word before we go face to face.
Well, like I said, I don't have a problem with supporting their plan. My issue with the plan is if we feel the need to go virtual the day we start school, then why are we waiting on someone else? I understand we're waiting on the state, but it's like we're waiting to see what everybody else is going to do. I'm thinking maybe if we were virtual, maybe the first marking period, and then went face to face upon seeing what happens. Like you said, though, we have the option to bring it back before the board if it looks bad. I don't see putting those babies out there trusting that they're gonna be able to remember to not touch their face, not do this, not. So that is the part that troubles me. And
So Miss McIntosh and Miss Green, I'm not trying to sway your vote, but it's a living document that can change over time. And because this virus, there's so many unknowns with the virus, it's going to be changing. And so there's nothing that's concrete or that's written in stone with the document. It has to be fluid, it has to be flexible due to all of the unknowns, but it gives you a starting point. And I understand that both you and Miss Danielle, Miss Green, sorry, are hesitant about the face-to-face instruction come after Labor Day. We may, and I'm saying we may have the choice to continue going virtually, and we may not have the choice to continue going virtually. If you look at the governor's roadmap, it depends on the phase that the state is in. And right now we're in phase 4, which we have the choice to do virtual or face-to-face. If we get to phase 5 or phase 6, we don't have the choice. If the governor puts us in phase 5, we automatically have to go back to school face to face. If we get to phase 6, we automatically go back to school face to face. And so it also depends on the governor's roadmap and where she has us in what phase. And so it's fluid, and it's something that we can continue to come back to with the board and make some changes depending on the phase that the governor has us in.
Okay, well, let me say this. Ms. Stewart, if you ever feel like you can sway my vote, that means you can show me where it makes sense to change my mind, and I'm always open to that if it makes more sense. I want you to understand that I'm not above when you show me where you're right or show me where you're playing. It's good. I'm not above changing my mind. And with that being said, okay, I'm gonna support what you're, because if it gets worse, I expect for this board to act, not just myself, to act on behalf of our children's lives first. I'm trusting that everybody on the line is mature enough and humanitarian enough to do so. So I'm gonna entertain the board and Miss Nita's plan. Then I'm gonna change my
Yeah.
vote and give us the opportunity to get off the ground.
If we fall back to phase 3, if the governor pushes us back to phase 3, that's automatically virtual.
Okay.
Phase 1 through 3 is virtual. Phase 4, you can do virtual or face to face. If she moves up to phase 5, then you
We
have
go
to
to
do
school
face
anyway.
to face. Yeah.
Okay, I got you, Miss Nita. I'm with you then. I support. Yay for me then.
So
Miss-
you have to redo the vote.
I want to say
Correct.
before we do that.
What I need is Miss Carol to make a motion to amend the
Okay.
motion.
Before that or after the vote, can I say my piece since Anita was talking to me and Carol?
You
Go
can,
ahead.
you can,
Can we do that? Yes, go ahead, Ms. Green.
The only way I would be comfortable with a yay is if we voted to go virtually in August as asked in the vote. But what I'm uncomfortable with, as I said, is that us going back. The fact that it's a living document, a motion is something that if we make the motion that we revisit or come, I'm just not comfortable with voting anything saying going back. But the virtual in the beginning, I'm 100% comfortable with. Because like I said, in September, in the fall, like Ms. Perry mentioned, we're looking at an uptick. So for me, like I said, it's almost a twofold question for me, which for me
It
would
is.
require a separate vote. You know what I'm saying? The virtual versus going back in September, those are two separate issues to me. I know they are related to going back to school, but the motion that Monica was talking about, if we could make that motion and make it a little clearer and a little more thorough, even though it's a living document, I would be more comfortable with that, because outside of that, I can't change my vote.
Mrs. Stewart. Mrs. Stewart.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, it's my understanding
Yes, ma'am.
that this document, the intent of this document is for the district to come up with a plan that would address any scenario that might be required based on the level of the virus. Is that correct?
That is correct. So you're correct, which lists the phases by the governor. Yes.
Right. So, and I think that's the part that we are missing. It's not that if we vote
No,
to
that's
vote
the
on
part
this
that is
plan that we are saying absolutely in September we will go face to face. Absolutely. It is saying that if all things are as they should be, we will go to the next level. But otherwise, we're going to follow the recommendations of the governor, the CDC, and other experts in the field of this virus. To approve this plan is not saying that we're just going to do this regardless and not consider, the ramifications of what this virus is doing in our community. So I want, my fellow board members to understand that this is a document that outlines what we will do if this should happen, what we will do if another thing should happen. Nothing happens unless the situation is such that the virus,
It's safe.
is at a point that it should happen that way. So this is not, I would never approve anything that said in September the virus is on the uptick, but because we said we're going to do face to face, our kids go to school. I would never approve that. But I understand that this is a document that says what we will do if certain things are in place. not what we will do regardless of what is happening.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That-
Yeah,
my
and it says what we will do in each of the phases that's outlined by the governor. What we
Correct.
will do in phase 1, what we will do in phase 2, what we will do in phase 3, what we will do in phase 4. And there's certain things that we can't control
Absolutely.
within those phases because the governor says that we have to do in phase 1 through 3. We have to do in phase 5 and 6.
And,
I
and,
get
and
that
it is
one.
also a requirement of every school district per the governor to come up with this plan.
Yes.
So every school district in the state has to have this plan.
I
So
understand.
that's also another issue that we are dealing with. If we don't approve this, then we probably will be the only district in the state that doesn't have a reopening plan.
And if they see ours, they'll all want it.
Well, keep in mind, we're not recreating the wheel here either. We got ideas from other people.
Mm-hmm.
I understood it when Ms. Stewart explained it. I understand totally.
I
Okay.
understand it wasn't worded like that. So when I'm asked to vote on started virtually in August, opening back up in September, that's what I'm voting on. I didn't speculate on anything else outside of that. I just looked at what the vote was asked. So again, for me, if it was separated or worded differently, I would be more comfortable to vote yay. Outside of that, I'm still nay.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right.
Not a lack of comprehension. I get it. I'm just voting on what I was asked to vote on.
Okay. Ms. Carroll, are you bringing forth a motion?
I'd like to bring forth a motion to bring back the motion on the reopening plan for a revote.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Monica, do we have to go through the whole process with that?
Yes.
I mean, do we have to go through voting on her bringing back the plan?
Yes.
Okay, so did we get a sec?
I said second.
Okay, so all those in favor of bringing back the issue of the school reopening plan, respond yes or no. This is Green,
Yeah.
Ms. McIntosh,
Yes.
Ms. Perry,
Yes.
Ms. Ramsdale,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Diana Wright. Okay, so Mrs. Stewart, will you present that again?
Yes. I seek your approval to move action item 21.5, adoption of reopening of school plan to the regular board meeting tonight.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it has been, okay, is there any discussion? Okay, seeing no further discussion, the vote is on the motion to move action item 21.5, adoption of reopening of school plan to the regular board for adoption, and will be conducted by a roll call vote, yes or no. Ms. Green,
No.
Ms. McIntosh,
Yes.
Ms. Perry,
Yes.
Mrs. Ramsdale,
Yes.
and myself, yes. So that becomes a 4-1. The motion is approved. Okay, Mrs. Stewart.
I seek your approval to move action item 21.6, expulsion of student to the regular board meeting tonight.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we that we move action item 21.6, expulsion of student to the regular board. This will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no. Ms. Green? Ms. Green?
Yes. Can y'all hear me?
Ms. McIntosh? Yes, I heard you. Thank you. Ms. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mrs. Perry?
Yes.
Ms. Ramsdale?
Yes.
And Diana Wright, yes. Motion passes 5-0. Go ahead,
I
Ms. Stewart.
seek your approval to move action item 21.7, McCree Theater, with the motion to approve or deny the continuation of partnership with the McCree Theater to the regular board meeting.
So moved.
Second, but what are we voting on? I mean, how are we going to separate yay or nay?
Well, the way this is stated here is just you decide yes or no if you want to continue with the relationship.
I thought that Ms. Stewart said to approve or deny.
Approve or deny a lease.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
So if you vote yes, you are approving the lease. If you vote no, you are denying the lease.
okay,
Thank you.
I needed that. Okay.
Is that correct, Mrs. Stewart?
If you vote yes, you're voting to approve the continuation. Yes. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Can I, oh, I'm sorry.
So have we had a move and a second?
Yes, we have.
Okay, is there any discussion?
I have a question.
Is Ms. Green?
So there's no lease now, so we're voting to approve a coming lease? Because from my understanding, oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
So
To
we able to
continue the relationship, and if you vote to continue the relationship, then I'll go back and have a conversation with Mr. Winfrey so that we can develop a lease, and the lease will come back to you in August.
Thank you. That was my question, so we can see what this, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's my, appreciate it. Okay, I'm done, Mrs. Wright.
Anyone else? Okay. Is there any further discussion? All right, seeing no further discussion, we are looking at action item 21.7, the McCree Theater, with the motion to approve or deny the continuation of a lease agreement with McCree Theater, the regular board for adoption. This will be done by a roll call vote. Danielle Green,
Yes.
Carol McIntosh,
No.
Vera Perry,
No.
Eddie Ramsdale,
No.
and Diana Wright, no. So the motion passes 4 no's. The motion fails, 4 no's, 1 yes. We will not continue a lease agreement with McCree Theater.
The
Point of
motion
clarity.
didn't fail.
I'm sorry, this is being moved to the full board. I apologize.
Yes, and just point of clarity for the public record, the resolution will then be that the board denies leasing space to the McCree. So when you look at the resolution 21.7, that is how it will be read in the regular board meeting for you to adopt.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Monica. Okay, thank you, Superintendent Stewart. Seeing no further action, I declare the board committee of the whole adjourned. The board's regular meeting is scheduled at 6:30, which means we will move right into the regular board meeting. So let me switch my meeting information here. Okay, I would like to call the Flint Board of Education regular board meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. Regular board members, as I call your, I'm sorry, not regular board members. Board members, as I call your name, please reply present for the public record. Secretary Ramsdale. Treasurer Green.
Present.
Trustee McIntosh.
Present.
Trustee Perry.
Present.
Trustee Strozier, absent, and Diana Wright, present. Okay, before we begin tonight's meeting, please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
of
United
United
States of America and
and
to the
to
republic for which it stands,
one
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks for the flag.
Yes, that was very nice, Steve.
Yes, that was neat. Hey, I would like to entertain a motion and second to approve our minutes in batch from the June 15th, 2020 special budget workshop, the June 17th, 2020 special board meeting, June 17th, 2020 regular board meeting, the June 25th, 2020 special board meeting, June 29th, 2020 special board meeting, July 6th, 2020 special board meeting, and the July 8th, 2020 board committee of the whole meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any corrections for any of those minutes? Okay, seeing none, the motion to approve the minutes in batch will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve the minutes in batch. Diana Wright, yes. Mrs. Ramsdale, Secretary Ramsdale,
Yes.
Treasurer Green,
Yes.
Trustee McIntosh,
yes.
Trustee Perry.
Yes.
All right, the motion passes 5-0. At this time, the board will hear any comments from the public regarding agenda items. Public members that have joined our meeting remotely are able to submit their questions through the chat section of this platform or may send an email prior to the meeting. Members of the public are reminded that the Board of Education, by its bylaw 1370, are not obligated to answer questions, make statements, or commitments in response to issues raised by the public. In general, such issues will be referred to the superintendent for investigation, study, or recommendation. At this time, I will ask Stephen if there are any comments from the public. It may take him a moment to review, so I'll pause. Stephen, please advise me before I proceed.
Good evening again. I do have a few that came in succession. I'm going to read them as I currently have just two individuals with questions. I'm going to read them in basically in batch so you can all see. We'll bring that up. Okay, the first is from Bruce Jordan. Only Karen Christian was a part of one of the committees for UTF. We have not yet discussed this as a whole and what would, if any, would need to be bargained and addressed. No ratifications or meetings held yet to go over any of this plan with UTF. To add to this, teacher participation does not replace union agreement and consideration. Under protocols for movement, how will face coverings be enforced? Protocols for screening, shouldn't this happen as students get on the buses? Protocols for PPE, how to enforce facial coverings all day with all students. Trying to enforce facial coverings all day will become a burdensome very quickly. Protocols for dining, eating in classrooms, how will this work? Who will supervise this? Fall 2020 slide, starting virtual learning and the transitions, the details and working conditions that would go along with this would need to be bargained. Protocols for PPE, will parents and students sign acknowledgement and acceptance of facial coverings all day, and what will happen if students choose not to wear them all day? Cleaning of buildings, additional cleaning. The buildings do not get cleaned well now or even prior to the pandemic. Next from Janie Brandon. Will all students have technology prior to the start of virtual learning? And then I am not sure if I heard any information about temperatures being taken during the August building adjustment or if and when face-to-face instruction begins. Can you give any information? And that I believe, let me get one more check. That is the end of the questions, yes.
Okay, does anyone from administration want to make a comment about any of those comments?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we will, at this time I will announce to the public that you may submit your questions by email to FBOE@flintschools.org to have your questions, comments read at the next meeting. Thank you. Now we will receive a communique from Superintendent Stewart.
I would like to begin by thanking our countless partners who have dedicated their time and energy to the Flint Community Schools Safe Return and Recovery Plan, including many of our esteemed Board of Education members, administrators, teachers, paraprofessionals, community partners, and parents. The Return to School Plan prioritizes the health and safety of our school community. In keeping with the governor's guidelines, the potential learning environments include face-to-face instruction, hybrid learning, and virtual instruction. Importantly, if a parent prefers virtual learning to face-to-face instruction, they will have the option to choose virtual learning. Unique to Flint Community Schools and reflective of the district's commitment to community education, the plan includes protocols for the whole child and family support in each of the potential learning environments. After we have the opportunity to discuss the plan this evening, the district plans to share the FCS Safe Return and Recovery Plan with families tomorrow, July 16th. The governor this week extended Michigan's state of emergency through August 11th, citing an increase in new coronavirus cases. We will continue to monitor for any updates regarding plans for in-person learning. Meanwhile, I'm pleased to share with you the STEM plan, the Science, Technology, Engineering, Mathematics proposal. The plan was created by our STEM initiative team, composed of our partners of the Office of K-12 Outreach at Michigan State University, Flint Community Schools principals, teachers, and district staff. As you know, STEM is not new. We began this journey with Brownell and Holmes several years ago, but we are at a pivotal point in time to capitalize on and revive the 21st century learning strategies in our community. My hope is that as a result of our rededication to STEM learning, we will one day see a talented former Flint student engineer the therapies that will address the pervasive challenges of our time. This proposal was submitted in your board packet as an informational item. It will be implemented starting this fall at our Brownell and Holmes campus. I am also pleased to provide additional details on the planning process at the Holmes STEM Middle School Academy. A team composed of our partners in the Office of K-12 Outreach at Michigan State University, Flint Community Schools principals, teachers, and district staff have been working through the Holmes STEM Middle School Academy roadmap. It contains 4 planning phases: define, design, develop, and deliver, which are conceived as processes that will encourage high levels of collaboration and relational trust. We have made great strides and expect to have the final plan tool in hand by the end of July. We're not quite finished with it yet. We hope to have it in hand by the end of July and be able to share it with you at our August board meeting. Lastly, enrollment for the fall 2020 is well underway. We have developed a social media toolkit that each of our schools is utilizing on their individual social media pages. We are running social media advertisements that have seen more than 1,000 clicks in just a couple of weeks. We are running radio advertisements in addition to billboards that have been up since the spring. And we have developed a variety of enrollment materials that showcase our points of pride. We continue to encourage families to enroll online through the website at www.flintschools.org and accommodate in-person enrollment by appointment only, following strict safety measures to protect all parties. As we prepare for the first day of school, we know the 2021 school year will certainly be unlike any other. However, I know we will overcome the challenges as we remain committed to the health and safety of our school community. Thank you.
Vice President.
That's my fault. I apologize.
Yeah,
He's on mute.
yeah, I saw that I was muted. I think I may have had a lot of noise because my granddaughter is taking some kind of class on TV. I would like to entertain a motion and a second to move the action items in batch that were discussed in great detail and moved at last week's and tonight's board cow meetings. Those actions are Human Resources Committee Action 1.1, Finance and Operations Committee Actions 11.1 through 11.24, Board Committee of the Whole Action Items 21.2 through 21.7, and the Academic Committee Actions Action Items 25.1 through 25.3.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions regarding any of the items that I have noted in the batch? Okay, seeing no further discussion, the motion to seeing no further discussion, the motion is to approve action items Human Resources Action Item 1.1, Finance and Operation Action Items 11.1 through 11.24, Board Committee of the Whole Action Items 21.2 through 21.7, Academic Committee Action Items 25.1 through 25.3. In batch will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve.
Just a minute. Point of order.
Ma'am. Yes.
How are you going to do that with 21.7? Because if we say yay,
Oh, yeah. Is that the McCree issue?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're
so
voting
we will,
to deny.
we'll take that one out.
okay.
Yep, that was my question. Okay.
So we'll do all in batch except, actually, we'll do all in batch except 21. Okay, so the vote, did I hear another comment? Okay, so the vote is a roll call vote. As I call your name, say yes or no, and you're voting on everything that I described except for 21.7, the theater lease. So Diana Wright is yes. Secretary Ramsdale,
Yes.
Treasurer Green,
Yes.
Trustee McIntosh,
Yes.
Trustee Perry.
Yes.
So the motions pass 5-0. And now we will vote on the action item 21.7, the yes or no to the extension of a lease to McCree Theater. Diana Wright.
No, it wouldn't be a lease. It's not a lease, right? So it wouldn't be an extension, right?
Well, when I say extension, I mean extending a lease, not giving a lease, not.
Oh, okay.
Diana Wright, my vote is no. Secretary Ramsdale,
No.
Treasurer Green,
Yes.
Trustee McIntosh,
No.
Trustee Perry.
No.
No, wait just a minute. Can I do that over here? Because I think I did my vote wrong. I think I said yes and I meant no.
You said no. I think.
Oh, okay.
Did she say?
I apologize, guys. I had to change my room because my granddaughter was taking a class on the television, so I had to take all of my stuff and move to a different spot. So I apologize for being.
You are right, Miss. You are right, Miss Wright.
All right. Okay. So so Trustee McIntosh, your response was.
You have 4 no's and 1 yes.
Okay. So the motion passes for.
No,
The motion fails. Wait a minute. Hold on.
The motion passes 4-1.
The motion the motion.
it fails.
It
Wait a minute.
The vote is 4 no one yes.
The,
Is it?
no,
Yes.
the
Point
vote
of
was
clarity.
for, yeah,
So point of clarity, just so we can relay this again for the public so that they understand, and you as well, board members, love you all. You are voting to deny, and that's what passed, the lease agreement.
you're breaking up.
And Miss Monica, the way my understanding of it is, if we voted, we should vote no to
Providing a lease.
to extend the lease to them, and yes, if we want to extend the lease to them, correct?
That, I think that's very clear.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we'll start over. Trustee Perry,
No,
Trustee McIntosh,
No.
Trustee Treasurer Green,
Yes.
Secretary Ramsdale,
No.
and Diana Wright, Vice President, no. So it is 5-1 vote.
No, it was
No,
by
no,
court.
no,
Or
4-1 vote. I apologize. No lease will be extended to.
the McCree Theater. May I just say, though, that we wish them well, wherever they may land, or wherever they may, I'm sure they'll find a permanent home.
Yes. Okay, new business info and action items continued. Finance and operations, we have item 12.1, our check register. Are there any questions from board members regarding the check register?
Oh,
Where's that at, Miss Wright? I'm missing that. I'm sorry.
We have 12 information items. 12.1 is the check register. Are there any questions from board members regarding the check register?
I haven't been getting the check registry. I'm not sure why, but I haven't been getting it.
It's in the packet, Mrs. Green.
I was going to say, if we're asking questions, it's in the packet.
I'm not talking about the packet though. I'm talking about the email I was getting before when I had talked to Carrie about sending it to all the board members so we could have it prior to the packet.
Oh, okay. Okay. So is Ms. Sakowski online?
Yep, I'm here.
So is it okay to honor Mrs. Green's request?
Sure. Did you just want the check register sent when we write checks, or do you want it once a month, or what's the pleasure of the board?
My initial request was, you know how you would send it out to me after I signed it? And since I'm not coming in to sign, whenever it would be a signing date, just send it to the whole board so we can have it and see it, just in case we have any questions when it's in the packet and we meet.
Absolutely. Yep. And if there's anything else you ever need, don't have to wait for a board meeting. Just feel free to let me know. I'm happy to share with you anything that I have. So we actually cut checks today, so I'll get that right out.
I appreciate it. I just thought about it. When so
All right. Thank you.
no problem.
Any other questions or concerns regarding the check register?
yes, I do have a question. Ms. Green has to sign this, doesn't she?
Under the pandemic, I don't have to go in and sign, is what I was told, because I asked that.
Okay, but she need to review it in order for
Yeah,
even for us. I would think that with her being a treasurer, she would need to lay eyes on the document before we be voting to receive it and accept it, I would think. Wouldn't that be the protocol? I could be wrong now.
No, I don't think you're wrong, Ms. McIntosh, but that, in terms of under the pandemic situation, they would have to work out, a different way of doing that. So my suggestion would be that they work out a way in which they can do their reviews virtually.
She said they were emailing it to her for a minute.
Right. So that here again, I'm not suggesting that they do anything other than what Mrs. Green is asking for.
And that's what me and Carrie talked about.
But as a treasurer, I would think that Right, yeah, but as a treasurer, I would think that she would see it even before the rest of us.
Well, I
Right,
just wanted to do it at the same time. I didn't think that was an issue.
right.
I-
That's
I-
my thing with it. How are we gonna vote on it and the treasurer ain't even seen it? I mean, seems like she should get the chance to lay eyes on it first and scrutinize
but I
it
think that,
before.
yeah, but I think that's something Mrs. Green and Miss Sikowski can easily work out.
Yeah, we got it. Yep, thank you, Kara. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Miss Carol, did you have another question?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
I have a
Okay,
question.
yes, ma'am.
Is that our last payment to VHM?
Ms. Sikowski, can you respond to that?
Yes, sorry, I was trying to save the check register from today. I was already getting on that for you. Yes, that's our last payment for VHM. They are paid in full.
Thank you.
Great.
Oh, good.
Any other questions regarding the check register? Okay, the next information item is 12.2, the balance sheet. Any questions? Okay, 12.3, the budget versus actuals, June 30, 2020. Any questions or regarding that? And item 12.4, ED, EP submission report. You have any questions regarding that? Okay, seeing no questions, we will provide additional opportunity for comments from the public before we adjourn. Have any additional comment, we will ask Stephen to check in the event the public has additional comments. So Stephen, are there any additional comments from the public?
I have no new additional comments.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Just a reminder to the public that you can submit your comments to FBOE@flintschools.org. We'll read submitted comments at the next board meeting. Are there any other remarks from board members before we begin to adjourn, before we adjourn? Ms. Perry?
We have just a reminder, we have an HR committee of the whole tomorrow and a special meeting. Am I correct, Monica? Hello? Or
Yeah. Yeah,
I know you asked her, but yes, there is one scheduled.
and what time is it?
6 o'clock. You're talking about the special board meeting, correct?
Tomorrow. Is it a committee of the whole and a special board?
Special board meeting is what I was told. I mean, if you
Okay.
want to have it in that manner, we can do it that manner. It's personnel recommendation only.
We normally take it committee of the whole and then into board.
Sure.
Right.
Not a
Vera,
problem.
we're going, so tomorrow we'll be doing both.
we'll
Yeah.
do one after the other. Will we do
Right.
one after the other? Can we just do one if we say it's a special board meeting? Ms. Perry, work for you?
You know, we did that once before and it wasn't good.
All right, okay.
So
Since
it
they're
should-
back to back, since
How
they're back
many-
to back, shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah,
Okay.
is Mrs. Washington here?
Yes, I am.
How many names do you have?
There will be 4.
Okay.
Okay, we can still start at 6 o'clock and then go right into a board meeting, can't we, Vice President, I mean?
Well, that was my understanding and thinking, that we would do the committee of the whole, just like we did tonight, and then go right into the board meeting after.
Good.
Okay, so we could start at 5:45
Or
or
No.
6 o'clock?
It has to be 6 o'clock, board members, because I've already
Right,
posted
we've
it
already-
at
yeah.
6
Yeah,
o'clock.
so
Right.
whatever Monica has posted, we need to follow that, because then we will run into open meetings violations if we change that. So I think that because it's only an HR meeting, if we do set one for 6 and the other for 6:30, that we should be done in short order.
Or even 6:15, because it may not take long.
Right, so Monica, but let me ask Monica that question. Monica, are they now set for 6 and 6:30?
What we could do is, because I've already posted the special board meeting and folks have already started to register. I'm just going to
Mhm.
keep it a special board meeting, but like I did this meeting tonight, we'll have the HR committee of the whole. And then we'll move it into the special board meeting for your second round of vote.
Okay,
Make sense?
Yep.
yes, that sounds
Okay.
fine.
So 6
Is
o'clock.
everyone else in agreement with that?
Yep.
Yes.
And
But
so
it all
6
starts
o'clock,
at
correct?
6 o'clock, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments from board members? Remarks?
I just want to say one thing. I am so glad that we're doing some of these things in batch, because we have so many other, really in-depth things. And since we've already gone over these, and there's always an opportunity to ask questions, I just think it's more productive for all of us.
Yes, because for the most part, most of those items are really discussed in depth at the committee of the whole. So I
Yes.
think that, and then of course, you still have the opportunity to bring up any other comment at the regular board meeting.
And that actually is the purpose of committee of the whole, so that at the regular board meeting, other issues can be discussed. So no, I think it worked out well, and I'm glad we're doing it.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Sampson. Okay, a special board meeting will be held tomorrow, July 16th, 2020 at 6 p.m. And our next committee of the whole will be held on Wednesday, August 12th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. Everyone have a good night, and this meeting is adjourned at 7:29. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Everybody.